The US dollar maintains its position as the world's primary currency for three reasons. Most people focus on military and economic strength, but there's a critical third factor that gets overlooked. The US controls the system through which international money moves. Imagine international trade like blood flowing through veins. When a German company buys Russian oil, that payment doesn't directly deposit to the Russian government. It has to flow through a complex network. For example, the German company's bank sends it to another bank that has a relationship with a third bank, and so on until it reaches the Russian seller. At each connection point in this chain, there are intermediary banks, financial institutions that connect different banking networks, managing the transaction. Here's what's crucial. Regardless of which countries are trading, most of these chains pass through at least one American financial institution. The US built this system strategically and maintains it as a choke point for global commerce. This system becomes a lever for power. When the US government wants to punish countries, particularly those helping sanctioned regimes like Iran, it uses this power as a weapon. Recently, the Treasury Department identified companies that had moved hundreds of millions of dollars for Iran. The consequence wasn't a fine or a court case. It was a complete cutoff from the American financial system. Once excluded, these companies couldn't process payments. They couldn't receive funds. They were financially isolated. The message to the world: make transactions for sanctioned countries, and you're screwed. Russia experienced this punishment heavily. After 2022, when the US and Western allies sanctioned Russia for invading Ukraine, the US didn't just target Russian companies or individuals. It disconnected Russia from the global payment system.
This created a super sticky situation for Russia's economy. The country produces enormous quantities of goods the world desperately needs: petroleum, natural gas, metals, agricultural products, fertilizers, and manufacturing goods. Buyers exist everywhere. The challenge is actually getting paid. When a Chinese importer wants Russian metals, the payment can't flow through normal banking channels, because those channels run through American institutions that have been ordered to block Russian transactions, thus isolating Russia despite them having valuable goods. So Russia needed a solution fast. The answer? Legalizing cryptocurrency. Why did crypto solve this problem? Because cryptocurrency bypasses the traditional banking infrastructure entirely. With traditional banking, payments flowing through intermediaries who act as gatekeepers. They can approve or deny transactions. With cryptocurrency, money transfers directly between parties. No bank sits in the middle. No American institution controls the process. A Russian exporter can receive Bitcoin or stablecoins directly from any buyer worldwide. And US can't intercept it because there's nothing to intercept. This is Russia's official justification. They need a payment method that works when the US has cut them out of traditional systems. It's a logical explanation. It makes practical sense. But underneath this surface-level story lies something more significant that most people haven't pieced together.
Russia's true concern has nothing to do with current sanctions or trade restrictions. Russia is actually preparing for something the United States is about to legalize that will fundamentally reshape how everyone uses money. Stablecoins. A stablecoin is essentially a digital version of the American dollar that operates on the internet. Think about what this means for how money and government control have worked historically. For roughly a century, governments have maintained tight control over their citizens' financial lives by controlling the banking system. If you want to hold foreign currency, you need approval and a bank that will hold it for you. If you want to move money across borders, the government can investigate, restrict, or deny permission. Governments can freeze accounts, seize assets, and monitor transactions. Their power is rooted from their monopoly on banking. Stablecoins completely change this. A stablecoin doesn't require any bank. It doesn't need government approval. It needs only an internet connection. So basically, anyone can hold American dollars directly. They can send those dollars to anyone, instantly, anywhere. The government can't freeze the account because the account doesn't exist within their banking system.
The United States is preparing to legitimize stablecoins on a massive scale. These digital dollars are backed by government treasury bonds, the safest financial instruments on Earth. And any person globally with a smartphone can acquire them. Now consider what happens inside Russia when this scenario plays out. Russia contains approximately 140 million people. Currently, they hold rubles because they must. They've watched their currency steadily lose value for decades. Citizens have experienced this their entire lives. Then, suddenly, they have an alternative. I mean, a literal Russian teenager can download an app and hold digital dollars backed by American government bonds. Dollars which maintain their value. They cannot be seized by the Russian government. They can't even be frozen. Even if the Russian government tries to restrict them, citizens can transfer them instantly to others. And the Russian government can't prevent this because the money exists on the internet, not in their banking system, posing as a colossal threat to the Russian government's ability to control money within their borders. Not because of military conflict, not because of political ideology, but simply because citizens might rationally choose better money methods. They might choose a currency that actually holds value. They might choose a currency their government can't control. And there's no military solution to it. The government can't shoot the internet. They can't imprison everyone who downloads an app. They can't stop rapid and widespread technological advancement, thus explaining why their crypto legislation is structured so strangely. Russia isn't trying to promote Bitcoin or show technological advancement. Russia is trying to build barriers designed to ensure government control over money. Their strategy launches September 1st in two parts. Part 1 appears to be pro-cryptocurrency, but is actually really restrictive. Russia allows ordinary citizens to purchase cryptocurrency. However, these ordinary people face severe limitations. They can acquire only $3,700 worth annually. Before purchasing anything, they must pass some government evaluation that, for all we know, can be impossible to pass.
But if they do happen to pass, they can only buy assets that government regulators have pre-approved, a list which doesn't even currently exist. And they cannot spend this cryptocurrency anywhere inside Russia. They could own Bitcoin, but cannot buy coffee with it, cannot pay a restaurant, cannot use it in any practical way within Russia. Businesses cannot even advertise that they accept cryptocurrency as payment. So this $3,700 worth in crypto is basically like a pet rock. This proved that Russia isn't promoting ordinary citizens investing in cryptocurrency. For regular people, it's almost intentionally useless. However, rules dramatically differ for businesses conducting international trade. Russian companies importing or exporting goods can use unlimited cryptocurrency to settle contracts with foreign partners. No caps, no restrictions, no government approval needed. A Russian petroleum exporter can accept unlimited cryptocurrency payments.
A Russian metals company can settle international contracts entirely in digital assets. The contrast is huge. Citizens get almost useless restrictions, while businesses get complete freedom? Strange, right? Why would the government create this odd split? The explanation is that $3,700 represents the maximum amount of uncontrolled money it can survive. Russia recognizes it cannot entirely prevent citizens from acquiring stablecoins when they become available. The technology is too powerful and too globally distributed. But it can limit the damage. Allowing $3,700 per year keeps the amount small enough that it won't cause a massive currency collapse. It's the government's calculated capacity, the maximum uncontrolled money it can survive. Now, Part 2 represents the actual core strategy, launching a government-controlled digital currency called the digital ruble on the same day the crypto law takes effect. This is the opposite of cryptocurrency. The digital ruble is issued by the Russian central bank. Every transaction flows through a government-controlled database. The state can see every transaction. The government can freeze accounts. The government can seize funds. The government maintains complete surveillance and control. It's pure government monitoring and authority over money. Not to mention, banks receive transaction fees for processing digital ruble payments. So the more people using digital rubles, the more revenue banks generate. That way, banks now have a financial incentive to promote this new government currency to customers. The strategy becomes clear. limit citizens to a small, useless amount of outside money, while simultaneously locking them into a government-controlled digital currency for all practical transactions. The goal is to establish widespread dependence on digital rubles before American stablecoins arrive. By the time digital dollars become available, Russians have already been trained to use the government system. Switching represents rebellion. Everyone they know uses digital rubles. Every business accepts digital rubles.
The government has made digital rubles the sole path. When the stablecoin avalanche arrives, Russia is hoping its citizens will stay within the government system they've become accustomed to using. For businesses, cryptocurrency serves as a method for trade, not investment. Money enters as payment from a foreign buyer, converts to cryptocurrency for the transaction, then converts back to another currency for domestic use. Cryptocurrency passes through. The cryptocurrency is transportation, not the destination. What truly matters extends far beyond Russia's specific situation. Multiple nations are simultaneously building alternative payment systems. They're building methods that are specifically designed to reduce dependence on American financial dominance. China is developing its own digital currency, potentially backed by gold and currency reserves, a system for international trade that doesn't require American participation. Saudi Arabia and other Middle Eastern nations are also exploring digital payment methods. These aren't isolated experiments.
They represent immense efforts by major economic powers to build systems where the American dollar's role is diminished. Each player, American corporations, Chinese banks, Russian government, Middle Eastern funds, wants maximum influence over whichever system emerges as dominant. They know that whoever controls the payment system controls huge amounts of leverage and power. Everyone at this table is racing to shape the future system. But here's what's important. Ordinary people aren't at this table. We're not shaping this competition. We'll use whatever system wins, whenever it wins, without a say. Quick summary. Russia legalized cryptocurrency to solve two problems simultaneously. The immediate problem, gaining access to international payments when America blocked traditional routes, and the long-term problem, preparing for when American stablecoins become available globally. This isn't a story about Russia becoming innovative with futuristic technology. It's about Russia building chains and walls before it loses control over its citizens. The real story is that multiple countries are all trying to find ways to bypass America's financial dominance. A world where the US dollar alone controls international commerce is ending. A world with competing payment systems is arriving. Thanks for watching Shroom News. See you in the next video.